The emergency room falls silent at 200 hours. Jordan Blake, a young woman in pale blue scrubs, methodically wipes down blood pressure cuffs with practiced efficiency. Around her, doctors laugh near vending machines while a resident brushes past without acknowledgement. She's just a tech, invisible labor, forgettable. Outside, 3 black SUVs pull silently into the ambulance bay. Navy SEALs in tactical gear step out, faces hard, weapons ready, moving through automatic doors like a blade through silk. The doctors freeze mid-sentence. Jordan doesn't turn around. She finishes her work, sets down the cuff, and waits. They didn't know who she was, but they're about to. Jordan has been awake for 14 hours at Walter Reed Military Hospital, maintaining the same quiet efficiency since her 1800 shift began. It's 5:45 now, 15 minutes until she can leave. She's learned her place over 2 years. She's a tech, not a nurse or doctor, performing grunt work no one else wants. Doctor. Marcus Chen, a second-year resident, snaps at her about restocking IV supplies she'd already replaced 2 hours ago. She doesn't correct him. She learned that lesson her first week. Bay 2 needs cleaning after a brutal trauma case. Jordan spends 20 minutes picking up bloody gauze and discarded equipment, staying past her shift without anyone noticing or caring. When she finally heads to the locker room, the day shift arrives with fresh energy, greeting nurses with coffee. No one greets Jordan. She pulls on her black windbreaker, lets her dark hair down, and walks toward the staff exit, her body aching from exhaustion. In the parking lot, Jordan hears engines, low, powerful, approaching fast. 3 vehicles. She doesn't turn around, just listens, her hand tightening around her keys. She counts footsteps, estimates positions, assesses threats, instincts she's spent 2 years suppressing. The black SUVs position themselves with tactical precision in the ambulance bay. 6 Navy SEALs emerge in full combat gear, moving toward the ER entrance in tight formation. Jordan watches through glass walls as the day shift staff freezes in confusion and alarm. She should leave, but her feet won't move. She knows why they're here, even without details. Something catastrophic has happened in the field. She walks back inside, positioning herself in a peripheral hallway where she can observe without being seen, another skill reactivating automatically. The lead operator, tall and weathered with command presence, approaches the charge nurse's desk. "I need your senior physician," he states flatly. "Doctor." Reeves arrives quickly, trying to reassert control. The operator explains. They extracted a high-value target 18 hours ago who's now showing hemorrhagic fever symptoms from an unknown pathogen. They need isolation, containment, and the best infectious disease specialist. When Reeves offers Dr. Amarty, the operator cuts him off. "We need Jordan Blake, former military. Worked with USAMRI ID on level 4 pathogens. Where is she?" The room goes silent. The staff exchanges confused looks. "Jordan's a tech," Sarah finally says. "She just clocked out." The operator's jaw tightens. "Commander Jordan Blake is a Navy infectious disease specialist with clearance above everyone in this building." "And you're telling me she's working as a tech?" Dr. Reeves stammers, unable to process this information. "I'm here," Jordan says, stepping from the hallway. Every head turns. She looks exactly as she did minutes ago, pale blue scrubs, exhausted, but her posture has changed. Her spine is straight, hands relaxed, eyes meeting the operators without hesitation. He salutes sharply. "Commander Blake, ma'am." Jordan doesn't return the salute. "I'm not active duty, Lieutenant Commander Hale." He maintains his stance. "We need you." Carver's critical, 24 years old, first deployment, hemorrhaging, altered mental status. Nothing's working. Jordan's expression remains neutral as she processes the tactical situation. "How bad?" she asks quietly. Within minutes, Jordan transforms the ER into a containment facility. She orders Bay 8 cleared and isolated, directs Linda to retrieve level 4 PPE from a storage room only Jordan knew existed, and establishes strict protocols. When Dr. Reeves questions her authority, Hale intervenes coldly. "Commander Blake's clearance supersedes yours." Her orders are keeping this from becoming a catastrophic outbreak. Jordan checks Carver's condition. The young SEAL is wrapped in containment sheeting, blood pooling beneath him, breathing shallow. She assesses exposure vectors, reviews his medical history, and discovers he'd been part of an experimental vaccine trial. Racing against time, she suits up in full biosafety gear. Tyvek suit, powered respirator, double gloves. A 6-minute process her exhausted hands perform with muscle memory. Inside Bay 8, she starts IVs, draws blood samples, administers fluids and vasopressors. His vitals are catastrophic. 104.3-degree fever, blood pressure dangerously low, oxygen saturation dropping. She recognizes the pattern from West Africa, Ebola, Marburg, the deadly cascade. But in his medical records, she finds hope, the experimental vaccine trial. She pulls an unapproved experimental antiviral from the medication cabinet. It's risky, untested for this pathogen with severe side effects. But Carver is dying. Doing nothing guarantees failure. She injects it into his IV line and settles in to wait, monitoring every subtle change in his deteriorating condition. 4 hours pass in isolation. Jordan doesn't leave Bay 8 except for decontamination cycles. Time moves strangely, minutes feel like hours. She monitors vitals, adjusts medications, wipes blood from Carver's face as hemorrhaging worsens. Outside, the ER functions around the sealed bay, but inside, time has stopped. There's only Jordan, Carver, and machines keeping him alive. Hale maintains his position outside the entire time, never leaving, demonstrating the leadership that doesn't ask subordinates to endure what you won't. Gradually, impossibly, Carver's fever begins dropping. His oxygen saturation stabilizes, the bleeding slows, blood pressure steadies. The cascade has been interrupted. Jordan allows herself one slow breath, not relief but acknowledgement. He's still alive, still fighting. Through the observation window, she sees the ER staff gathered in clusters, watching with expressions she can't read. The invisible tech has become the center of everything, and they don't know how to process it. Jordan doesn't care what they think. She returns to Carver's bedside, prepared to stay as long as necessary. This is what she's always done. Work no one else can do, performed in spaces no one else will enter. In the decontamination shower, chemical spray pounds Jordan's suit for 12 minutes. She watches pink-tinged runoff, Carver's blood, spiral down the drain. When she finally removes the suit in precise sequence and emerges in her wrinkled scrubs, she finds a small crowd waiting. Dr. Reeves, nurses, residents, and Hale, all looking like they've aged years. Jordan cuts through Reeves' attempts at gratitude. Carver is stable, documented, ready for specialist handoff. She needs post-exposure documentation and viral screening, then sleep. The ER has changed subtly but absolutely. Conversations stop when she passes. Eyes track her but don't meet her gaze. The charge nurse and her colleagues go silent, one actually stepping back. Jordan heads to the break room for terrible coffee, wrapping both hands around the cup. Carver is stable, not recovered, but the decline has stopped. She's bought him time, maybe enough. But stable isn't safe with hemorrhagic fevers. Patients improve for hours, then crash suddenly. She'll have to fight just as hard to keep him alive in each successive moment. Doctor. Reeves enters the break room and sits across from Jordan, struggling to understand. You've been working here for 2 years as a tech. You're a Navy commander, an infectious disease specialist with USAMRID experience and clearance levels he didn't know existed. Why? Jordan is too tired to deflect. Because I couldn't do the other job anymore. The one where you do everything right and they die anyway. Where you hold a 20-year-old's hand while he bleeds out from Ebola and there's nothing you can do except tell him he's not alone. I did that for 8 years. Then I couldn't. She came here for lower stakes, to help without carrying the weight of life and death, to be invisible and not responsible for impossible decisions. It worked for 2 years, until a patient arrived she couldn't walk away from. Reeves notes her extraordinary work, the experimental antiviral she administered without approval, career-ending if reported. Jordan is unapologetic. He was unconscious and dying. I made a tactical decision based on available intelligence and acceptable risk. That's combat medicine. File a complaint if you want, but don't expect me to apologize for keeping that kid alive. Reeves isn't filing complaints. He's trying to understand who she is. I'm nobody. That's the point, Jordan says, but Reeves is right. She can't go back to being invisible. Everyone knows now. By tomorrow, the entire hospital will know. Hale enters next, asking Jordan to consult for other operators in the field. Other exposures where her unique combination of combat experience and BSL-4 expertise could mean the difference between body bags and bringing them home alive. Jordan refuses initially. She's not active duty, hasn't been for 2 years. When Hale asks why she left, she explains, "I was tired of watching people die, carrying their faces, making impossible decisions. I wanted something smaller I could control." Hale's response cuts deep. "You did what a warrior does, assessed threats, calculated risks, took action despite not knowing if you'd succeed. That's not medicine, that's combat. You're still a warrior, you just forgot for a while." The words crack something open in Jordan's chest, recognition of a truth she's avoided for 2 years. She never stopped being what she was, just buried it, hidden it, pretended it didn't exist. But when Carver arrived, every defense collapsed. She's still a warrior, still a SEAL, still someone who runs toward danger. Pretending otherwise hadn't made her safe, just miserable. "I need time," she tells Hale quietly. He nods. "When you're ready, we'll be waiting." 18 hours after Carver's arrival, Jordan sits beside his bed as morning light filters through Bay 8. His vitals have held steady through the night. Fever down to 99.8, blood pressure stable without support, oxygen at 96%. He's breathing on his own, conscious, tracking movement, squeezing her hand when asked. Lab results identify a Marburg virus variant, genetically distinct but vulnerable to the experimental antiviral's targeting of filovirus replication mechanisms. Luck and science in equal measure. Carver will survive, needing weeks of recovery and years of monitoring, but he'll live. Jordan has stayed the entire night except for 2 brief breaks. When she signals Hale through the window with a thumbs up, his shoulders drop with relief for the first time. He calls command to report their operator will make it home. After decontamination and blood draws for her own viral screening, Jordan files reports and prepares to finally leave. Hale thanks her personally. "You saved one of my men." "There's no higher debt." Jordan deflects she was doing her job. "That wasn't your job anymore," Hale insists. "You chose to help when you could have walked away." He extends his hand, then salutes formally. Jordan hesitates before returning it, muscle memory from another life, but also somehow right. Jordan drives home after 24 continuous hours, collapsing on her couch without changing. She sleeps for nearly 40 hours straight, dreamless, heavy like falling. When she wakes 2 days later, her phone shows 63 missed calls and over 100 texts from hospital administration, NCIS, Naval Command, journalists, unknown numbers. She ignores them all. Dr. Reeves calls asking if she's returning. Her shift starts at 1800 tonight. Jordan looks around her small apartment, the quiet space she'd created separate from everything she'd been. She could go back to restocking supplies and being invisible. "I'm coming back," she tells Reeves. When he suggests discussing her changed role, Jordan is firm. "Nothing has changed, I'm a tech." "That's my job." At 17:45, she walks into Walter Reed's ER in pale blue scrubs. Everything looks the same except how people look at her. Conversations pause, heads turn. Eyes track her with curiosity and discomfort. Dr. Chen, who'd snapped at her days ago, sees her and immediately looks away, face flushing. A nurse stares, then whispers to a colleague. Jordan begins her shift, performing the same invisible work, restocking supplies, checking inventory, organizing equipment. But the space around her remains strange. People keep their distance, treating her with careful respect that feels nothing like respect. By hour 3, Jordan realizes the truth. She's still invisible, just differently. Before, people didn't see her. Now they see her too clearly. The person she'd been, the things she'd done, the competence she'd demonstrated, and it makes them uncomfortable, unsure how to act. She's isolated either way by dismissal or deference. The result is the same. At 200, she takes her break in the same corner of the break room. Sarah joins her, hesitantly at first. "Everyone's calling you a hero," Sarah says. Jordan doesn't respond. Sarah continues, "They're saying Jordan is the best doctor in the hospital." "I'm not a doctor, I'm a tech," Jordan corrects. Sarah asks why someone with Jordan's capabilities would choose this work over running departments, working for CDC, teaching at medical schools. "Because those jobs require you to be visible, to lead, to make decisions affecting hundreds of people. And I didn't want that anymore." Sarah asks if Jordan will stay. Jordan doesn't know. For what it's worth, I hope you do, Sarah says quietly. Not because of what you can do or who you were, but because you were kind. Before everyone knew, when you were just Jordan the tech, you were kind to me. You helped when I made mistakes. You didn't judge. That mattered. Jordan finishes her shift in silence, performing the same work but no longer performing invisibility. When people look at her now, she doesn't look away or shrink. She just exists, quietly, competently, without apology. At 600, she clocks out and drives home in the dawn light, following the same routine as the past 2 years. But something fundamental has shifted. She'd been forced into the light and survived instead of burning up. She'd remembered who she was, what she was capable of. Maybe that was worth the cost of being seen. At her apartment, her phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. When you're ready. Hale Jordan looks at the message for a long moment, then sets the phone down without responding. She walks to the window with coffee, watching the city wake up, traffic increasing, lights coming on, life continuing. Normal, safe. She'd wanted small, quiet to disappear. Maybe for a while that had been necessary. Maybe she'd needed to stop, rest, remember what it felt like to be just Jordan, not Commander Blake, not the specialist everyone needed. But standing here now, with exhaustion in her bones and Carver's life in the balance behind her, she realizes something. She'd never stopped being a warrior. She'd just been waiting, resting, preparing. When the call comes again, because it will come again, she'll be ready. Not because she has to be, but because it's who she is. Jordan finishes her coffee and goes to bed. She sleeps deeply. When she wakes 12 hours later, she feels lighter. Not because anything has changed, but because she's finally stopped pretending.